In this video, I'm testing out a rust remover that actually works. For today's test, I went through my shop and I dug out the rustiest metal and tools I could find. I had a pretty hard time finding tools that were really rusty, but I've got some stuff in here that's pretty rusty, so I think you'll see a good test today. To try and remove this rust, I'll use this rust dissolver from Loctite. The label here claims that it will actually dissolve rust from metal surfaces. It also claims that it came from someone's belly button, so I'm a little skeptical. Remember, safety first. You don't want to be picking your boogers later and this stuff to get up in there. According to the instructions, all you have to do with this stuff is to brush it on. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to do that since this stuff is a gel, but we'll give it our best shot. I decided to pour it in a tub so I don't make a huge mess. Oh, weird, look at this stuff. It looks like Pepto-Bismol. But you probably wouldn't want to drink this stuff for an upset stomach. You probably wouldn't have a stomach after that. Now I'll go ahead and smear this Pepto-Bismol all over this rusty metal. I'll go ahead and speed this part up for you guys. Hold up real quick, I want to show you this piece of metal up close. I decided to only cover half of this piece of square tubing with the rust dissolver. I'm hoping that will give us a good before and after picture so we can know how well this stuff works. This ought to be a good test. I decided to pull out this railroad spike to see if it'll remove the rust from this thing. I highly doubt it though since it's made out of iron, but we'll see. Alright, now back to ludicrous speed. Now that I've brushed on all this pink Naval Jelly, the instructions tell me that I need to let this stuff sit for 5 to 10 minutes. While we wait for this stuff to do its magic, let's take a look at the metal and see what's happening to it. In areas that had less rust, the rust seems to be completely dissolved. The rustier areas seem to be turning a dark grayish color. Next, the instructions tell us to rinse these things off with fresh water. At first, I thought it'd be easiest to rinse these off in this little tub, but this jelly stuff doesn't want to come off. I found it was a lot easier to rinse these off from the faucet. I repeated this process twice and it was still removing rust the second time. I'm pretty impressed with the results on this square though, aren't you? I don't even see a speck of rust on this little metal Yeti. I let this rust on purpose though, so that may not be a fair test. There might be just a little bit of surface rust left on this chisel, but I bet if I sent it through one more time you could eat off of it. Here's what our square tubing looks like after one cleaning. It seems like the rust is gone, but in its place is this black carbon looking stuff. Here's cleaning number 2 and you can see that it's all but gone. When I was rinsing off the square tubing, some of this stuff got over on this side I was trying to leave rusty. And as you can see, it ate off some of the rust over here too. This is probably my favorite part of the whole video. This railroad spike had about the same amount of rust as the one I cleaned off. I really wasn't expecting this stuff to clean off this thing like it did. This thing had so much rust on it, I thought it was made out of rust. John Henry probably drove this thing in himself. And now I better go put these things back in before a train comes. On the pliers, I let those sit overnight because I wanted to see what would happen. And fortunately, this stuff didn't eat my pliers up. Let's see if this hardened stuff comes off with a wire brush. Hey, that worked just as good. I don't need no stinking instructions. I want to show you one more thing because the instructions say that this stuff will remove paint, and I think that might actually be beneficial. I'll just glob it on this painted piece of square tubing and then let it sit for about 2 or 3 hours. Alright, moment of truth, let's see what happens. I scrubbed and scraped for quite a while because this might actually be really beneficial if it works. And nope, this stuff is not a good paint remover. But they really didn't claim that on the label. That was probably just a warning for stupid people. And now, to prevent future rust, I'll go ahead and paint this stuff a little bit. Maybe now I can find my square. For today's review, I'm going to give this rust dissolver an A-. The only thing that I think would make it better is if it removed everything on the first try. But then it wouldn't be called a rust dissolver, it'd be called magic. I hope you liked today's video. If you did, would you hit that like button for me? Also, I'll put a link in the description below if you want to snatch up some of this stuff for yourself. Have a great day and keep hitting that I believe button.